curve.
Mm-hmm. Stick this bad boy right up here.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. It's like a little cricket. Fan club. Check.
But the question is the person who was complaining about the flag or noticed that the flag was gone recognize the artwork that has been put up? I like it.
That.
I like it.
I got that at the same place I got this shirt that says I was a Rangers fan before it was cool. Talking about the new stadium.
And I'm blocking out the haters today because TikTok this week. We'll talk about it in a minute.
That's some good haters.
Yeah, it's very obvious that the TikTok does not listen to us all the way through.
No. TikTok means you don't have an attention span.
And
so that tracks.
It is frustrating. It is frustrating. Because it's like what we got called the MAGA cult this week. I was like, that's a new one. Hadn't heard that. But anyways, it's again, I said it last week and maybe the week before. I can see why people do not read the comments.
Yeah.
Because it's like, these people are dumb. What are you smoking tonight?
Never smoked this one on the pod. It's a Monte Cristo White Series.
Oh, I've never smoked this one on the pod. It's a Gurkha Ghost.
Gurkha Ghost. I need a new cutter or I need to sharpen the blades. I don't think you sharpen these. I got it.
Oh.
It's the same kind, isn't it?
I don't know.
That's close. My sister-in-law got me a nice set lighter. It's the one with the invisible flame, but it got my initials on it. Mm-hmm. But she also got me a really nice cutter, too. And I left it on a golf cart on the golf course.
You told me that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. But I do like the new artwork covering the electrical panel in the garage.
In our studio.
Because if you don't know, that's a reference to Love Field in Dallas, which is where Kennedy landed before his parade through the streets of downtown Dallas.
And I like the fact that the center of the photo is not Kennedy.
It's Johnson.
I know.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Says something, don't it?
It does. It says a lot.
But did you digest any of the Kennedy files?
No. I mean, just briefly, I say no. Digest, no. Cursory look, yes.
I felt like nothing came out of it. Right? I mean,
yeah.
And I did not read any of them like primary source myself. I read what other people said about them. And
that's where I was.
I was like, yeah, that doesn't say anything. But, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy. We've talked about this. I'm usually pretty much on the end of, what are you doing?
Can you point it up like that right there? Oh, can you stop it? Perfect. Now it's not blowing on top of me.
I don't believe most of them, but I do not believe that was done by one person. I don't believe Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone assailant.
Have you been to the book depository?
Yes.
It makes it very difficult for me to believe that he was that accurate of a shot from that spot.
Even if he was, Kennedy's head flying backwards on the direct line from the grassy knoll makes me think that a shot came from the grassy knoll. I haven't heard anybody explain that one really well. And then, like, they do such a good job of it in the movie with Kevin Costner explaining the magic bullet. They got Connolly, the Texas governor, you know. He's like, and then it went here, and then it went here, and like...
Yeah.
Bullets don't ricochet off of bone and go back through flesh. Like...
I was expecting more from the files. Like, I was
Yes.
really expecting there to be this, like, I don't even really know how to explain it. I was expecting there to be, like, the golden ticket type, where it's like, okay, it's very obvious that this is what happened.
I was not expecting them to come out and say the CIA did it. I wasn't expecting that much transparency, if that's what happened. But I was expecting to be like, okay, yes, we know Lee Harvey Oswald didn't act alone. You know.
It's a good cigar.
Yeah, I like this one. It's long, though. It's like you got to work on the draw.
I did go to the local cigar specs store. They had their Churchill Olivia series is on sale, the samplers on sale. So I got a couple of them. But the Gurkhas were on sale. They're normally
Where did you go? I was just there today.
in Fate.
Yeah.
Yeah. All their Gurkhas were on sale, half off. So I stockpiled a little bit of those.
I was looking for some Macanudos. Couldn't find any. Sometimes they just don't have them. It's not a big humidor. So.
It's my favorite humidor, though.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It has the best selection, in my opinion.
It has the best selection of that price range of cigar.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not looking for $80 cigars.
Nope.
They do have some,
They do.
but I'm not looking for that there. If I'm going to get that, I'm going down to the harbor. I do wish they had a membership program, though, like in Fuego.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. Stars are down 2-2. They're about to start. Oh, they're already up 1-0. 9 seconds in. Holy cow.
Coming after it. Yeah, they just scored.
They skate real fast. Breakaway. Oh, stopped it again. Stars are down 2-0, or 2-2, or tied 2-2. Series is tied 2-2. They are now currently up 1-0 with 19:44 in the first period. Okay, we got to talk about Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
Okay, first off, this is not a racist thing.
It is not.
That the first pick of the draft was a black guy, Cam Ward.
It is not. And here's my take on all of that talk about the people saying that, and there was so much of it. Like, I was having this argument with my oldest son. He really thought he was going to go in the first round, and I kept saying no, he's not. He still could have, but I kept saying he's not that good, and he comes with a huge circus. And there's a lot of teams that don't want the Dion circus coming into their locker room and the Shedeur circus. So that was my take. So we were out at the lake on Saturday, and then when he got picked, we were on the boat in the 5th round. And I was looking at some of the tweets, just kind of see the reaction and the analysis, if it was, and was so much racist talk. And here's what I want to say about that. Is like, does racism still exist? Yes. But when you have people that try to find racism in everything, it demeans the whole argument that it still exists.
Correct.
Like, Shedeur Sanders dropping to the 5th round was not racism. I don't think there's a single NFL team out of the 32 right now who would not take the best player to help them win a championship.
100%.
Regardless of the color of their skin, nationality, where they're from, anything. Was there a time in sports, NFL, of course, with Jackie Robinson and baseball? Yes, absolutely. That has existed. Does that exist today? I really don't think it does. But I think that when people try to find racism in every single case, like in every single thing that happens, that they water down and demean the cases and the places where it does still exist and needs to be brought up and talked about.
I don't have a disagreement. And also, like, the pick is weird. Like, why in the world do the Cleveland Browns have 5 quarterbacks on their roster?
Because, now that makes so much sense to me. I was like, if anybody's going to take this guy, it's going to be the Browns, because who likes to bring a show to their club and the Cleveland Browns? Like, look at their picks. Like, they love a circus.
Boy.
I'm surprised they didn't take him sooner.
Okay, and I know we're Cowboy fans.
Who can make us relevant even though we keep losing games? This guy.
And our $240 million guaranteed contract is out this year. So I mean, I guess that does make sense. But then, like the brand, did you see?
I hope he does amazing
on the Twitter sphere. Apparently, Dion at some point said that he would block Shador from going there to Cleveland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember what the year was. I think it was like 18.
Get to the fifth round, you might let him go.
Yeah, but now they said like
mind.
his contract this year is going to be significantly less than what he was making in NIL at Colorado.
Yeah.
I like the Cowboy picks.
I do. I didn't pay that close of attention. I was talking with somebody about it on Sunday, and I was like, listen, in years past.
Is this person a big Cowboy fan?
No.
Okay.
Big Buffalo fan.
Oh, okay.
In years past, I would say about this time of year, I'm not invested, I don't care, whatever. And then they would get me there. Usually by the draft, I'm starting to pay attention again. This year, I don't care still. But I do like that Jaden Blue.
Me too.
I liked him a lot. And
too.
Reason I know more about him than I normally would is because of gambling.
Oh, that's right.
I bet on
we
the
did
guy.
pick him. We did pick him a couple of
I
times.
bet on the guy quite a few times. So I like that.
Was he the one that was supposed to score in the touchdown and it cost me the six?
I've put that out of my mind.
Man, I'll have to go back and look.
I don't remember those.
If that is the case, I don't like him.
I don't remember my losses. Which makes me keep betting because I forget my losses.
Yeah. But I really liked also like some of the picks the Giants made. I like Scadaboo pick for him. I thought that was a good pick for them.
And they went with their Ole Miss quarterback.
Yeah, I thought they did. I thought that was a good draft.
Ole Miss quarterbacks.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Eli. Yeah.
So they got their Ole Miss quarterback and they got Scadaboo. I mean, the Giants are trying to build a team. I don't know how Jackson Dart's going to do. I really don't.
Yeah.
That is one of those. It's like I don't know how the NFL is going to treat that guy. So
yeah, and the Twitch said Eagles too. They had a great draft.
Unfreaking fortunately, yes, they did.
But I think everybody in the NFC East had an above average grade when I looked today.
The NFC East is the only division of football where every team has won a Super Bowl.
Oh,
so
interesting tidbit
there. Yeah.
Huh. I hadn't thought about that.
Do the Redskin Commanders have 3 or 4?
I think they have 4.
I think they have 4 too.
Because we have 5.
Giants have 4. We have 5, and stupid Eagles have 2 now.
But I like, I like the picks. Doesn't mean we're going to win a Super Bowl, but are you paying attention to the NBA Finals at all?
Not at all. I couldn't tell you who's playing.
So, Luka's in there, but there has been some more just awful injuries. So, there was an Achilles tear last night. Oh gosh, Damian Lillard. I was trying to say a word on the way here too, and I couldn't spit it out. I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a long night. But yeah, that's other than I pay attention to the score, but I'm not watching it.
Mm-hmm. Not even just watching Luka.
No, I can't.
Right.
Makes me too sad. And he's a Laker.
So there's Kristaps is playing, Jalen Brunson's still in, and Luka. That's the 3 former Mavericks that are.
Tim Hardaway Jr.
4.
And then there's others, but not as relevant.
Yeah, like recent.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy.
I still kick myself for not getting a Jalen Brunson jersey.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I always said I was going to, and then he went.
That would have been that's a good one. So we don't typically talk about our kids too much. They're mentioned, but so this week.
Well, we do talk for hours about youth sports, so.
Oh, that's true. I haven't had any complaints about that though, so.
No.
Who cares?
And I had a eventful youth sports weekend, so.
Are we going to talk about that?
Sure.
So hold on, let me tell you the story first.
Okay.
So I'm trying to teach the son some responsibilities, and this is not a sexist comment, but there are things in our house that women don't do. They don't take the trash out. They don't take care of the yard. They're just things that they don't do that boys and men take care of. Just like in life. Okay? So I'm trying to raise that, right? That's what my dad did. That's what I'm trying to do. So we're outside, and one of his chores is to help clean up the yard between the grass and when we trim the hedges or whatever. So we're out there, and I had trimmed all the hedges, and we're raking them off the other bushes to put it into the yard so we can mow over it and mulch it and then pick it up. And he looks at me and he was like, why are we doing this? Like, well, because we need to trim up the hedges. And he was like, okay. And I was like, so then like my radar was like, can we rephrase that, please? He was like, Dad, this is just the stupidest thing ever. And I was like, no. Let's just have a little conversation about this. And I was like, dude, like, why? Later, after I calmed down a little bit and we had a little conversation, I calmed down. I'm like, dude, like, you can't, like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're told to do something, you're going to do it.
Right.
You know, this is a chore. This is what we do. You're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So then the other night one of his other chores is to empty out the utensils in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And he was like, he marches in there and he's just having one of his little hissy fit type moments like most 7-year-olds have. And he looks at me and he goes, where's his older sister? I don't know. Well, doesn't she normally do this? Not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now every time, like tonight before I came over here, I'm like, hey, get in here, empty this.
Yep.
And I just was like, dude, you and I are gonna come to fisticuffs before you leave this house.
One of the ways we get through life is all of our kids take care of their own stuff. Dishes wise, they all do their own laundry. They have to help each other because some of them are short.
Yeah.
And little, but they all do their own. And I'm glad about that. They don't always like it. Sometimes they like the work. So
yeah,
it's a hit and miss.
We're having to really scale back the amount of work that we do around our house because it's like there's 3 of it. I mean, there's 3 almost full size adults that use a basket of laundry, and I just can't do all the laundry anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be my thing because of coaching and stuff. Like I just got into the habit of just doing but by the time Sunday rolls around, I'm doing 12 loads of laundry, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, you're gonna have to start doing your own.
Yep. Yeah, we do that for sure.
Did you send the email?
Yes, because I was instructed to.
Did you get a response?
No, not yet. Huh. And so I'm not going to name names or organizations because they have time to respond. But a coach from a different town, because we play interleague, it's not just all in the town that we live in, was trash talking my kid. And like no adult should ever trash talk a kid, but really a coach should not. And it happened to be on video, not because I'm videoing this other coach who was mouthy the whole time, because my kid was doing a free kick and I was going to video it. And so another problem with this game was at this age, you're supposed to have a minimum of 3 refs on the field. They had 1. This particular town's organization, they didn't know they had to have 3 for North Texas soccer rules. And so like this kid, and it's not his fault, but he's missing calls left and right, like blatant ones. And a couple of them that led to scores, like, it's like missed calls are missed calls. Like, and it's rec league sports, So like we're taking all that into account. But after a while it starts wearing down, and when all of the parents, like you're always going to have your parents that are going to kind of groan about calls. I'm actually not one of those. But there was one.
Wait, hold on. This is 2 weeks in a row.
I'm really not. I'm really, really not. But there was one. Sorry, they almost scored on us. There was one that was so incredibly blatant missed call that the other team was able to score on. All of the parents jumped up out of their chairs and started yelling. Now that's pretty blatant. Again, still not this ref's fault. One ref cannot cover that entire field. But it got the attention of one of the board members who came over and gave us the what for yelling at the ref, which is completely their job, and we shouldn't have done that. And I did apologize to the ref after the game and made all that right. But while that board member was over there, I was like, by the way, while we're talking about the ref situation, this coach was been pretty mouthy. He said actually a couple of very pointed things, directly trash talking my kid, definitely within earshot of my kid because we heard it catty corner across the field. And parents responded to it when he said those things. She's like, I was like, what can we do about it? She's like, you just need to, send an email, we'll report it. And I'm like, that just sounds, that's so not my style. I'm not the type of angry email type of person. So at the end of the game, when the game was over, I was like, listen, I'm just going to walk over and talk to this guy, which apparently is not what you're supposed to do. It makes total sense to me, but an parent on the opposing team is apparently not supposed to have any contact with the opposing team's coach, which I sort of maybe get, but at the same time, I'm just one man to another man who trash talked my kid trying to make it right. And I walked up to him and I introduced myself. I shook his hand, asked his name, and said, hey, when my son, that was number 6 there, was making that free kick, those things you said, don't appreciate that. And he was like, well, and he kind of hem-hawed. He's like, I say those things, hopping up my team. I'm like, yeah, but we don't trash talk other kids. And then he just started yelling and pointing at my face, and his assistant coach came and got him off the field, and that was that. And that's when I learned I was supposed to go talk to the other coaches. But honestly, like, if he just would have said, yeah, you're right, man. Like, we should be talking about other kids. Like, I can hype up my goalie who's about to defend a free kick by hyping up my goalie without talking down the kid who's making the free kick. Right. Like, yeah. And then you just say, like, and then I would have been like, shake his hand, like, you apologized. We're good. We're done. There's nothing else that's going to happen. But then, like, oh my gosh, all these people came over and we're like, anyway. So yes, I did go ahead and send it, and it's, it is what it is. But, yeah, that's it. And
I told you.
I'm not saying anything else because, like, it's only been a couple days. They have time to respond, and what they do with it ultimately, like I say, this is a different town. Like, this isn't even our association, and everything. What they decide to do is whatever they decide to do. I just listen. You trash talk my kid. You're an adult. Not only you're an adult, you're a coach coaching other 10-year-olds. Like, I said my piece and let you know I didn't appreciate it. That's what it is.
We had a coach from another town. This was not this year, but that flexed on second grade little girls.
Oh, geez.
And he would stand. We're playing volleyball. He would stand right at the net like this, like PJ Washington style, like. And just like, I'm like, what are you doing? You're a 40-year-old man. These are second grade little girls. They're more worried about if their bow straight.
That's so true. My kid was good. Like, he brought it up on the way home. He didn't, like, understand it, and he did, like, the goalie got the kick. So kind of hurt him a little bit too, and they wound up losing the game 2-1. Which, when you have bad calls by the ref and you lose 2-1, it makes it sting that much more. Like, if they beat us 10-0, be like, okay,
Yeah.
It's like, all these people, because I'm a Chiefs fan and they love people love to talk about missed calls on the Chiefs. And what I like to do, because, it's all like, okay, so let's replay that down where the refs missed a call on the Chiefs. Let's play that out and see what actually happens. Does it affect the score at the end of the game? No, they beat you by 3 scores. Like, come on. I know that's not the case with every Chiefs game, and that's different because that's pro sports, but at the end of the day, that was a rough game. But we came back and played on Sunday and won.
Same team?
No. Different team. But beat them into the weekend on a win. My little boys, in their stupid co-ed league, they won't be doing anymore after a couple more weeks. We beat one team like 10-1, and one of my sons scored 9 of those goals. And it's like it gets to a point where I'm like, take him out.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's not fair.
It isn't. I mean, I love it because he's just loving it. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, if he breaks away and gets out of traffic, he's going to score. Like, those little 6-year-olds aren't going to catch up to him.
Yeah.
And he has pretty good ball control for a 6-year-old.
Right.
Dribbling a soccer ball. So, he just.
Yeah, that's tough.
My wife wasn't there. She was at my son's other game. And I was texting her. I'm like, it's 8-0. He just scored again. And I kept telling him. I just started telling him. I was like, well, fine. If coach isn't going to take him out, I was just telling him, I was standing on the sideline just saying, pass it.
Right.
And he did a couple times. And then a little kid would like score, or they'd kick it out or something. He'd look at me like, what? Like, what? Why'd I do that for? Like, I could have scored. You told me to pass it. I'm like, yeah, but you scored enough.
Yeah.
We're winning the game, buddy. And they don't even keep standings at this age. Like, it's going to be fun for them.
Yeah, it's okay. So, in all honesty, when the score matters, like, if you beat somebody by so many points and you're in a tournament or whatever, and the score does matter. That's hard on those kids, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. Because, like, it's also hard as a coach. Like, because in volleyball, if you beat, like, and you go in these tournaments, the point differential could kill you.
That's what I mean. So my older son, it matters. So, like, goal differential matters, for the standings and for playoffs and things. But at this age,
yeah, that's tough.
It's like the Stars, like, to bring it back to them, like, the Stars are the only team that's in the playoffs with a negative goal differential.
Yeah. Right now, the Rangers are headed down that path, too.
Yes. Yeah, the Rangers, I think, I looked up last week, maybe were the only first-place team in any division with a negative run differential.
Yes, I saw that. They picked it up this past weekend.
You're not going places with that. Like, you may be first place for now, but I don't know. There is a level of the Rangers where I'm like, beat the Astros, and I don't care what else you do. It's almost like, for a long time, that's what it was, Longhorn football. It was like beat OU, and we were okay. But
Texas was in the national championship, right? Against Ohio. Okay.
They lost.
Yeah. That was a random thought that went through my brain.
Seems like forever ago.
Still 1-0 Stars. 8:30 in the goal. 8:30 in the first period. Shots on goal 5-5.
I was to say we were winning shots on goal, but they've caught back up.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? I picked last week, so you can pick this week.
I was on the radio. That was fun.
Celebrity in the house.
Yeah, I hardly ever listen to the radio live. If I'm listening to it, there's a couple like political talk shows I listen to, and sports also. And every once in a while, I will think about calling in, but I've never done it. And so there's just one local political talk show host that I've listened to since literally I was in high school. Mostly in the summer, obviously when I was in high school, because he has a morning show. But I'd be working in my dad's shop, listening to the lineup. And he was the morning shot from like 9 to noon back then, and he still has a morning show now. And I was like, they got on vouchers a little bit. It's a local guy, so he's talking about Texas, and we've talked about that on the podcast several times, and quite a bit. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I called in, and like the producer immediately answered. I've tried to call in and win like tickets before. I've done that, and that's you just hear the busy signal, like you never get through.
Right.
But immediately she's like, say your name quickly, and I was like, okay. So, said that. Where are you from? Okay, what do you want to talk about? Like, it's like very fast for me. And so, and I got on. It was at the top of the hour. I'll just play it because I think I want to play it on the pod. So we can dive into. You want to dive into ESAs?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. We normally talk about ESAs and stuff at the end. That's been our trend, but we'll just jump right into it today.
Because I can tie into the A through F stuff too. The report cards that were coming out.
So this is me talking on the radio. Scrolling through those texts I sent you about that coach and that soccer game.
By the way, I did send some texts.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you about it later.
Let's go to the phones. We're in Royce City. Clint, Mark Davis, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Mark. First time calling in.
I hate hearing myself on the radio.
First time caller, long time listener.
Yeah. It's been a journey. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Hey, I come down kind of on both sides of school choice and ESAs, but my argument here is that one of the arguments for it is that taxpayers just want to get some of their tax dollars back that they paid in property taxes. We pay a lot out here in Texas. Mm-hmm. But at $10,000 a kid in my district, just for one kid, your home would have to be valued on the tax rolls of $900,000 before you're paying in $10,000 in school tax. And so it feels somewhat like a city. Like I'm kind of subsidizing my neighbor down the street sending his kids to private school if he's getting more than what he's paying in tax dollars.
Okay, so before he jumps in, because he's going to jump in to say some stuff, we were at the top of the hour. I don't begrudge him at all for like giving his thoughts and cutting me off. You got to jump to commercial. It's live radio. That's the way it works. But that's the same argument that we made on the podcast before, that essentially many of the supporters of school choice and vouchers will say, we're just trying to get some of our property tax dollars back. And I'm like, okay, but you're getting back way more than what you're paying in. So you're not just getting back you're getting back all your property tax dollars and then some on top of that.
Right.
So to me, in kind of the cell phone garbled there a little bit, on the radio, but to me, it feels like that other people are subsidizing people being able to send their kids to private school because you're not paying enough in than what you're getting back out. So that those tax dollars are coming from other people if you just math it out like that. So here was the response.
I think the logic, and I know what you mean, is that this moves Texas toward the notion where we take a look at the denominator as in the fraction of every single person in the state versus the numerator, the fraction on top, as how much everybody pays. Because you're right, there are counties of different size. Hey, whatever county you live in, whatever county I live in, there are small counties, there are large counties. The idea of the geography of school choice is to sort of break what's called the zip code trap, where traditional public school assignments tie education quality to housing, tie it to the county you live in. You can step across the county line if you wish, do what you want. And generally speaking, overall, in the final analysis, when it all comes out in the wash, it is a system where choice is going to work in small counties and large counties alike. I know what you mean. I don't think there was ever any guarantee that the revenue will necessarily be dollar for dollar with the benefit that every taxpayer gets. Mm-hmm. But I know what you mean. I do indeed, and it is funny. This is what led conservative legislators. Some of our more conservative legislators come from our more rural, more sparsely populated counties, and a lot of these guys were against school choice for figuring what kind of disproportionate impact would it have on public education in those small counties. School choice has been the case in a lot of states, and it has not made public education die on the vine in small counties there. I think the reasons for confidence are pretty high. Clint, thank you. Appreciate it very, very much. Give me a buzz anytime. Don't be a stranger. Every 30 years, dude. We've got to be holding court a little bit more often. 8:58. Let's wrap up.
So, a couple thoughts. Again, I would have loved to rebut some of that, but it would have been a much longer conversation. His response was not what I was talking about. The argument, and this is true, like a lot of the representatives who got primaried and who are no longer in the House of Representatives for the state were from smaller counties and thought that this would take money out of them. Plus, those counties for school choice that are more rural counties don't have a large selection or really any selection of private schools in those counties for people to pick from anyway. So a lot of those representatives saw it as they're just going to lose potential revenue for schools to no benefit to their constituents who live in those counties, which makes perfect sense as a valid argument. But it doesn't address the argument that I was making where that you're not just getting some of your tax dollars back. You're getting like that and something else. And there's like, if you travel that further down the road, think about what government guaranteed student loans have done for college prices and college tuition prices. Is that not going to do the same thing for private schools?
Yeah, it is.
When, these private schools know now that the government is going to subsidize part of that tuition, is that not just going to make the tuition go up and be more expensive, just like it did for college tuition when you have student loans guaranteed by the government? I mean, it's going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't hear that being talked about either.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts as well. I want to come back. I want to wrap back up to that student loan thing because that was something that I sent you a message about.
Right.
And I want to talk about that. But I think I put your point on TikTok and Facebook. And a couple of the comments, one of them obviously didn't listen to the show, so they didn't get the point. But the other person said, well, I don't want to pay school taxes at all if I only have to send my kid to school for 12 years. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good thought. Mm-hmm. So how would that, I don't even know how that would really work, but that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, at least that would definitely cut the revenue for sure. But I don't know how that
too significant. Like it would,
but I think that person,
because not only the 12 years thing, but think about commercial property as well.
Yeah. And I think too, like we're trying to solve an issue to me that is not super complicated. Okay, and if the numbers are saying that the schools are short, and we have pledged through the Texas Constitution that we're going to have public schools in our state, funded by the state, then it shouldn't be that complicated to me. That's where I'm struggling with this, in all honesty, because it's like, if the school is saying we need $800 more per student, that doesn't seem like it's too much to ask for. Mm-mm. And then we throw $10,000 to a certain number of lottery given students, it just doesn't seem equitable to me.
And at the end of the day, it's 100,000. If every student, it's capped at $1 billion, right? So that's 100,000 students at $10,000. There's 5.5 million students, public school students,
right,
in the state. So yeah, drop in the bucket there.
And I don't think the fear though is of that it's a big picture fear, in my opinion, from like talking to teachers who aren't just afraid of ESAs in general and administrators in general. It's not that they're afraid of them. It's not that they don't want competition, because it already exists. And I think the fear is that it's going to continue to grow,
which is what it did in Arizona. So
and Tennessee,
this system
and Indiana
was modeled after those states. I haven't looked at Tennessee or Indiana specifically. I've just looked at Arizona, and now Arizona is a smaller state. We're talking about hundreds of millions, not $1 billion, but it started out as like, this is the cap. This is the same kind of thing. And then just grew and grew and grew and grew. And like I said last week on the podcast, I don't think $1 billion bankrupts public education in Texas.
Me neither.
Especially because of where it comes from, and how that budget works. Now, it does make it harder for property tax relief, because you are taken away from our rainy day fund. But I don't think $1 billion now, but it opens the door down the road. So like, for the people saying today, this is the be all end all, like this is the doom of public education in Texas, I hear you. Okay. I don't think the way this bill is written, that's going to be true because of the limits that are put on it, but it opens that door. Like if you want to say this opens the door for what could be really detrimental, and honestly, it is a strong point. It's not fear-mongering, really. It is a strong point, because anytime you start spending government dollars, it's real easy to spend more.
Correct.
When you start spending them on one thing, it is a slippery slope. We've seen it time and time again, to just spend more and more and more and more.
Well, hence the reason we're in $38 trillion in debt.
Right.
And that's not to say federal debt, but that's not to say that's what's going to happen. But I'm just saying, like, that's how it starts with things like this. And there are other things that are like this as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just this. And I think the other thing that worries me, and worry may not even be the right word, but is on my radar, is they still haven't passed any type of actual, like, they've passed the vouchers, and that's passed the House, but the funds for the schools haven't passed either. So it's like, should I be worried? Should I not be worried? Well, how do I respond to this? And I've been real hesitant to even talk about it, if I'm being honest, because it's like, we almost have to, because it's part of what our show is and part of what our podcast is. But it's like, well, nothing has actually happened yet.
Yeah. I mean, it passed the Senate now,
but he hasn't signed it.
Yeah. But I think
the ESAs have.
Yeah.
But the other other part hasn't.
Right.
So it's like, well, if they just pass the ESAs and they do nothing for schools, that's more worrisome to me.
It's very worrisome
than the ESAs.
And here's the thing, like, I know so little about this. I know a couple people, a lot more about school finance. It is super complicated, but at the end of the day, like, schools receive government money based on head count, based on students, and it's a certain allotment per year per kid. And it's like, if you look at the chart of that allotment, like, I can't understand. I mean, I can't understand because it's government, they can never agree on anything, but I can't understand how you're not just increasing that every year, because everything gets more expensive every year. It was like, it was at 5,000 something forever, and then back in 2018 is when they raised it to the 6,000, like 6,160. Is that what it was? And then now it's proposed to go to
65 something, 68 something, which is very, very minimal. Right.
So until it passes, you're talking about since 2018, and we mentioned this before. Think about how much more expensive everything's gotten since 2018. How much more expensive everything got through COVID. And
there was a chart that I put on Facebook. I don't know if you saw this. Yeah. I posted it. I reposted it on our Facebook about how now TEA has come out and said the exact amount that the allotment is proposed is the exact amount that it should be according to inflation.
Right.
So it was like, that's how they came up to that number. I'm like, oh, good play, TEA.
Yeah, but what about next year? Like, You know,
I do know that one of the bills, I don't remember which one it is, does have an increase.
It should be.
It's like a 2% increase over year.
Yeah, that's the way. I mean, 2% is not enough. The way with inflation, but that's the way it should be designed. Is an automatic increase, and then they can add more and make adjustments if they need to. But I mean, I think the broader question, and like for a political type podcast where we cover politics locally and nationally, the broader question is like, what do we like and what do we not like government paying for and subsidizing? Like, again, I'm very fiscally conservative, but I also believe there are some things government can pay for.
Right.
Like, I'm not one of these people like that's going to say government should have, because government can't pay for anything if you have zero taxes.
Right.
So, and I think as a society, as a people, having public education is a benefit to the entire society. A rising tide raises all boats. People coming out with a general basic knowledge and being able to go into the workforce,
right?
Being able to step into college and higher education, which is needed. I mean, I've heard Zuckerberg was on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and man, if you could ever have two totally different guys on a podcast, that is it. Like, some of the things Theo Vaughn was saying, and then like contrasted with Mark Zuckerberg, was like, these guys are in two different universes.
Well,
and he's not dumb, but
who, Theo Vaughn?
Yes.
Oh, for sure. I know exactly what you mean.
It's at the same time, he's like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that, but Zuckerberg was talking about, and we've talked about this before, like, not everybody needs to go to college.
Right.
And Zuckerberg was saying, like, because he dropped out of Harvard.
Right.
You know, and he's like, so not everyone needs to go to college, but that's kind of a taboo thing to say. But having a basic level of instruction, and you can talk about reforming what that looks like and what curriculum looks like, and people choosing paths, and people in high school maybe having a path that is less higher in subjects and more of like you're going into the workforce, and that's a great thing because we need that. Like, you can talk about, you know, reforming curriculum all day long, but at the end of the day, the base, you know, argument that I'm going to make is that it is good for a people, for a society, to invest into public education for everyone. And so I'm okay with government spending money on that.
Yeah.
And
we need to add that to our chart over here.
Yes, we're gonna get a chart. We're gonna cover up, because ChatGPT roasted us for our our guns and ammunition signs.
We need a chart.
Cover it up with our
go right hand here, Maker's Mark,
left to right chart on where we stand on things. And like, I'm okay with government funding public education. I want it to be fiscally conservative. Like, and I think one of the ways you do that is put more control into the hands of the local school boards,
right,
who know what they need and know their people, versus putting any control at the top is where you're just going to see waste.
So that swings into the ratings that came out this week. So 2023 ratings for school districts were released. This happened before our podcast. Excuse me. The release happened this week, but the lawsuits that happened to keep the data, to keep those ratings put away, essentially, are private, I guess.
Aren't they normally public, though?
They are normally public, but the problem is with COVID, right? COVID came and COVID screwed everything up. I mean, in so many ways. I mean, we're not going to dive down in that hole, but in education, it really screwed everything up because everybody had to change in some form or fashion. So they didn't release them. So if we want to have accountability, which is what the state wants us to have, I am perfectly fine with that. I don't know. I mean, and the Twitch can correct me, but I don't know a single administrator or district employee that I work with or have ever worked with, which I've worked with thousands of them, that doesn't think that schools need accountability, that they should just free willy do whatever they want. But we need to know the rules. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're going to hold us accountable for if this kid can throw a bag into that hole over there 9 out of 10 times, and we're going to get rated on that, then we need to be able to teach that kid how to do that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I guess my big picture thing is like, we need to know the rules, which we didn't know the rules for this one. And they just kind of threw some things that weren't like growth measure of a third grader who was out of school for 2 years. Well, that kid's not going to show growth because he hasn't been in school for 18 months. You know what I mean? Like, and those are the things that I struggle with, because it's like, okay, my district or my co-workers as teacher industry are being held accountable for something that was out of our control. Now, if you wanted to start it now and say, okay, we're going to start doing accountability this way, A through F, I don't really have a problem with that. But here's the rules. You have a year to adjust, and then we're going to go for it. So that has happened multiple times where they change it on us all the time. So that's not anything new where the state is changing it. It's just that they released it earlier than most districts would have liked.
Okay.
I think if they'd have done it next year, in the 2024 year, so this would have been last year's numbers, not 2 years ago, it would be a totally different situation. And I'm sure I'm botching that to a certain extent because, I mean, the district that I work for and the districts that are relatively close to us scored okay. They were either A or B. One a little bit further down, red and white, not so good. Almost every one of them was an F. And so that puts them in a whole different category. So the thing is, though, too, is like a lot of the new funding is saying that it'll be attached to those grades.
Right.
Well, typically low income, socially diverse, racially diverse schools don't do as well as a Highland Park does, which there's a lot of things to talk about with that I don't really like talking about or feel comfortable right now talking about. So is that right? Is that fair? I don't know. You know, a rural white community that has both parents at home and they read to their kids is going to do a lot better on the scorecard. And is that fair? Don't know. So it's one of those things where it could be a positive.
Yeah.
And if you're in the right district and you're in the right area of the state, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And this is where they throw the whole school choice in, right? Well, if you're in an F district, you should be able to move.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, but then there are better ways to do it.
Yeah.
So it's complicated, to say the least. But it's one of those things where, what does accountability for a school district even look like?
I think a lot of the voices in Austin, our capital, and a lot of the conservative voices are saying, well, we should treat it like we do anything else, like it's the marketplace. And if a school is underperforming, then people should be able to take their quote unquote dollars attached to their kid elsewhere. The problem with that is that what are you doing to the kids who can't move? And like even with this vouchers and ESAs, like that's limited. So some kids are be able to move out and go to a private school. There's always going to be some kids that live in the vicinity of that school that cannot move and cannot go to a private school anyway. Like the $10,000 isn't going to do anything for them.
Right. Even if they got it, they couldn't get there.
They're not going to get there. Or that private school may not take them because they don't have to take anyone. So like, what are you going to do with those kids? It's not their fault.
Right.
And you're just making a situation worse.
Well, and it goes back to the whole pick them up by your bootstraps conversation that isn't fair. Like that's in this scenario.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because they're already been dealt a bagged hand.
And like people will point so many times to the parents. Great. Point right at them. But that doesn't do anything for the kid.
Right.
And like we learned that lesson and saw that play out so many times in our years as foster parents. Like there were so many people who were like, well, those parents just need to, they're not going to get their act together. Like that's why their kids are in our house and not theirs. Like that's not going to happen. Like you can't just sit back, on your couch and say, well, then parents just need to get their act together and, do something with their kids. They're not going to. So we don't let the kids suffer and like fall further down and continue that cycle in that family tree going in the same direction it's going in, because we're just going to sit back and blame parents or whatever we're going to blame for that situation. Like it's okay to step in and say that's not working. Like there's so many times, especially with government and politics, it's like just play this out to the end. Like you have a great idea in an ivory tower of conservatism that you think is just wonderful and that's the way things should be, but in the real world play that scenario out to its logical end and you don't get the result you're going after. And that's a broad generalization, but that's how I really feel about the way this education is being handled.
I just wish they would listen. Like we're about to talk about the CPA stuff. and we can hop into that now, or we can circle back to the student loans. I don't care. But if you, the state, and Greg Abbott and TEA sent out a committee and they searched and they were like, okay, how can we improve education? The number one thing was pay teachers more.
Yeah.
More money, pay the teachers more, and school discipline.
Yeah.
And they have yet to address either one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Trump, who literally passed an executive order basically putting corporal punishment back in schools this past week.
Yeah.
Now, I understand there's a lot of nuance in that.
Yes.
But that's the big picture of what he was. And
Exactly.
me personally, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
But at least he's trying to do something.
It was like that school pretty far east of us a couple of years ago where that assistant principal gave corporal punishment to that female student. And like, dude, I think we talked about this. This is before the podcast. Like, if I were a male in any capacity in any school anywhere,
There's way.
zero chance I'm ever giving corporal punishment to a female student.
Now, I'm not doing it to a male student. I'm not giving corporal punishment to a male student.
Yeah. Even there, but like, yeah, I don't know.
Story time. Hold on. When I was working at a district that I'm not working at right now, teacher, student got into it with another student. The altercation happened. The teacher removed the aggressor from the room and pinned them up against the wall in the hallway. Okay. Didn't harm the student. I was a visual witness to this. That teacher got fired because on the camera, all you could see was the bottom half of their body. And it appears that the teacher is being the aggressor. And because there was no video proof, that teacher got fired.
Yep.
30 years down the drain.
Yeah.
All because he was trying to break up an altercation.
Yes.
And so, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen that story play over and over and over again.
And at the same time, my wife got in trouble at a different district, not the one she's at now, one time when she was pregnant for not breaking up a fight.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to like, just tell us what the rules are. Like, you can't do it, you know? Like, she's pregnant. And she didn't get between two students and got in trouble for that. Like, it's freaking ridiculous.
There was a time that there was a fight right outside my room, and there were two female students. And I'm like, I'm on video because the kids obviously are Snapchatting or whatever. And I'm like, hey, stop it. Stop. Because I'm not about to touch either one of them.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, not only is the kid behind me videoing, but there's a camera right above me.
Yeah. I was going to say something that kind of brought that back.
So I want to circle back to the student loan thing because you know they're messing with it again. And the TikTok world is all upset about how they're not paying their student loans back. Blah 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 blah. We've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, and I've shared my story.
That's what I was going to say real quick before you move on.
No, you're good.
Just to tie a bow on that. I feel like the Trump thing, and I know, like I said, there's more to it than that, but like the putting corporal punishment back in schools. That's one of the things I'm talking about. That is just this great idea. We need to go back to giving kids SWATs. Like, that's an idea in somebody's head, and you get like a bunch of claps and amens and everything to that idea. But like, no, that's not a great idea. Like, it sounds good to a certain demographic and like party and like mindset politically. Like, everything's wrong today with kids. We need to go back to doing that. And so that sounds good, but like, again, play that out. Think about how that works out. And if you ever had enough kids, you know that there are some kids that works on and some kids that doesn't work on.
Preach.
I got more than one. And it just...
But like also back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, you didn't know some of the things about the students that you know now.
Yes.
Like, we didn't know that Uncle Johnny was doing some of the things to everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, not to get too graphic, but you didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Because nobody talked about it, and it was just hush-hush, and everybody just knew Uncle Johnny was kind of weird.
And, you know...
But now we know.
Yes.
You can't do that because you don't know what the kid is going through. And that's where the relationships with the teachers, that's where the relationships with the administration, that's where that has to be built. And if you don't have those people in the schools, it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
And that's the direction I fear we're heading in, right? Because those people who do want to build relationships with teachers or with students and do care about them getting to go to welding school, they're not going to exist anymore. So the student loan stuff has popped back up. They starting next Monday. If you're in default, they're going to start the process of garnishing wages. I believe wages, your tax returns. There were 3. What was the third one? I can't remember the third one.
Social Security.
Social Security. I don't think it was that. I would have remembered that, but I don't remember the third one. The problem, I don't have a problem with that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you should pay your student loans back.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is they keep changing it.
Mm-hmm.
So like every time there's a new administration, it changes, and it doesn't just change a little bit.
Yeah.
It changes drastically. And so you don't know that. It goes back to what I was talking about with schools. You don't know the rules.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of the programs are 10 or 20 years. Well, if I'm in year 9 in 6 months and I'm expecting I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm expecting it to go away or expecting to close out that phase of life, and now the rules change and I have to start all over. It's like, well, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
The other issue I have is like, if you took out $80,000 to do your school, okay, I should be able to pay that off in a reasonable amount of time after graduating school. Now, you take out $500,000, that's a totally different story. Sure. That's not what I'm talking. I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking about to the teacher who's trying to pay back those student loans, and you make a $450 payment every month for 3 years, and the
balance never changes.
It never changes. Yeah. And that's what people are missing.
Yeah.
It's not that people aren't willing to pay back their loans. There are some. I'm not.
Oh, sure.
But
sure.
The big portion of people, like, if I pay in 70% of what I've already borrowed,
mm-hmm.
and that balance never goes down,
yeah,
that's a problem. And that's where I'm at on that. The Twitch says it was Social Security. By the way, it was the third one. I want to be perfectly clear. If I take out $50,000 and I have to pay a little bit of interest,
yeah.
I'm okay with that because that is a hand up, not a hand out. I don't think we need to give handouts.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is if it's being constantly changed, and every time you consolidate those loans, that interest rate changes, and now you're compounding the interest. And if you took out 3 loans, one is at 6%, another one is at 6%, and another one at 6%, that's 18%. And so it's like, how in the world is that ever going to get paid back?
Yeah, it needs to be balanced. Like, I have no problem with Caroline Levitt. That's what you're talking about, coming out and saying, listen, you're going to have to pay your student loans back. We're not. Which is really more of just a sea change from the previous administration to come in and make that clear, as if it wasn't already clear to everyone. But there has to be, and in addition to that, we're going to address the problem of student debt.
Correct.
And how it is predatory lending.
Correct.
At the highest. Like, I'm telling you this, like, it's the same reason Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Like, if Social Security, the way it's run, was run by an investment firm, those people would be going to jail. Like, because Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. You are using the principal payments of people paying in now to pay out your benefit payments to people do, and it's going under. Like, so the same thing goes to student loans. If regular banks made student loans the way the government makes student loans, they would be brought in by the DOJ for predatory lending.
Exactly.
Like, you can't do that for any other type of loan. The strategies they use and how they get kids in.
And to be perfectly clear, in the state of Texas, you cannot graduate if you don't fill out FAFSA.
Yes. And because they're government guaranteed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
They have jacked up the price of tuition, 4, 5, 6, 7-fold, because colleges know, like, nobody has to actually come up with this cash to come to school anymore.
Correct.
Just fill this out and it's paid for. It's unsecured loan. You don't have to have any collateral, nothing. Like, that's a problem too. If you're one of these people that are saying, like, people need to pay back their loans, sure, 100%, right behind you. There has to be another side to that comes in and fixes the problem to begin with.
Correct.
Because yes, there's a problem. Why is there a problem with people not paying back their loans? Like, we don't see a bunch of people out there like, pay off my car, and all this kind of stuff. Like, I'm sure you have some, but not to the degree you have with student loans. And the reason you have that outcry about student loans to the degree that you have it is because of the government guarantee that has raised the price of tuition and you've made it nearly impossible for anyone to ever get denied for a student loan. So
Can you get denied for a student loan?
I don't know. I'm assuming maybe, but I don't think so. I've never heard of anyone. And like, you come into college as an 18-year-old with no assets and no job.
I don't think I've ever heard of
no
anybody not
collateral,
getting it.
and they still get it. So you get whatever you want.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Pretty much. And like, that's the problem. Like, you got to fix that too. Come in with a hard line and say you got to pay your student loans back. Also come back and say we've got to do something about the entrance through the front door of adding new student loan debt.
The Twitch says it should be capped at 3%. I think that's too high. I think it should be 2. In my math, I think it should be 2. And if you consolidate at the end, it's still 2%. I mean, if you take out $100,000, that's still $20,000 that you're paying in interest. I mean, is that fair?
I mean,
as a CPA and a person who deals with banks.
Here's the litmus test we always talk about. Like, if you are against something, are you also potentially for the exact same thing in a different form? And if so, that's inconsistency. A lot of people...
Hold on. Rephrase what you said.
If you are against something...
Okay.
Are you also potentially for that same thing, just in a different form? So here's my example that'll bring that home. There's a lot of people who are like, you cannot forgive student loan debt, who are business owners, conservatives, who took out PPP loans and got those forgiven. What's the difference?
There isn't.
There's not. And if you're against both of those things, great, you are consistent. But there's a ton of conservative business owners who are quick to say, do not forgive student loans, who took out government loans during COVID and had those things forgiven 100%. And to your thing about the interest rate, PPP loans are 1%. If they did not get forgiven and had to be paid back, like you couldn't meet the test to get the forgiveness, I
didn't know that.
1%, yeah.
The Twitch says tax the endowments and force the universities to finance the loans. Is that possible?
That would change it.
Yeah, I mean...
Because then they're, for lack of a better word, butts are on the line.
Yeah.
For those loans. If they go bad.
Yeah, I mean...
And also, like, they're not bankruptable, but that's what Caroline Levitt's talking about, is there's a lot of people that are like, I can't bankrupt them, but I'm just not going to pay them.
Right.
You know, and so then she's saying, hey, you're not going to get a tax refund if you're getting Social Security or any type of disability or survivor benefits. You're not going to get any of that. And we'll just come in and garnish your wages. We score again?
I don't know if that's a replay or if that's puts us up 3-0.
It looks different than the first score. Oh, yeah, we're 3-0. Man.
We missed one right at the end of the second period. We were talking.
Stars.
We look faster tonight.
Yeah.
Than we did the night before. We look like we're playing with purpose. And we're at home. That makes a difference.
Does make a difference. We should go to a game.
You're the one with the contacts, not me. I bet you have a client.
Yeah. Well, the best thing is I have a relative. With
Are they there?
Courtside seats for Mavs and a suite.
Ooh.
And on the glass seats for the Stars.
Let's go. Hit them up.
Well, you got to get the invite.
Do they listen?
No, they should. They're not my relative. They're my wife's relative, and they have their name on a lot of buildings and structures in Dallas. But, yeah, Stars games are fun to go to.
So the Twitch asked a question that I think is a good question. How do we have... I mean, there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek in this, by the way. By the way, man, this Twitch is so small. How do we still have a national debt if the government is charging all of the interest in billions of dollars on student loans? I mean, it's not wrong. There's a valid point there. So I want to swing back a little bit and kind of not wrap up, but add another part. So another thing that Trump talked about this week was he floated the idea, and I don't know if this is Trump being Trump or Trump throwing out a Trumpism, about throwing out paying women to have children, $5,000. I mean, on the surface, don't think that's a good idea.
I know exactly where this comes from.
Okay, go.
If you listen to Elon Musk talk, and he has been asked this question on multiple podcasts, multiple interviews, not just podcasts, but like 60 Minutes type interviews.
Okay.
I mean, he's the guy that's taking us to Mars, right? So they
Right.
will ask him, what keeps you up at night? What is the thing you're most afraid of? Every single time I've heard him ask that question by different people, his response is our birth rate.
Right.
He always says that.
Yes.
He says that is his biggest fear. He's the guy who's also trying to populate another planet. So I don't know, like, take everything with the whole council. But that's his biggest fear. And I think that comes directly from Elon Musk saying we need to be having more babies. I don't. I'm done. I have
too.
6.
Me
You
too.
have 3. We
I
have done
3.
our job.
We've done
higher
none.
than the average. We're good.
I have a bet, by the way. I have a bet with a certain family member that they will be pregnant again by December. I'm going to look and see if that certain family member responds.
Do we share the same family member?
Yes.
Okay. Kyle and I are not related. We just have a mutual relation.
I think that the whole incentivizing having children on principle is a good thing. But the problem is it goes back to what we've talked about before, is we have to address the bigger issue. Is, okay, if we say you get $5,000 if you have a kid, that's great. But are you going to have paid leave? Are you going to work on the family unit? Are you going to promote more family unit morals to where you can actually function and as a family unit and someone stay home with the children? So I've seen a lot of TikTok talking about like the cost of childcare. Like, you can't afford to have 2 kids because you're paying. I saw somebody that was paying $2,500 a kid.
A month?
A month. It's $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
You don't think that's unreasonable?
It's a lot. Yeah.
I just think that it seems to me that we have a bigger issue.
It's $600 a week.
That's a lot of money.
It is. That's probably more like a Montessori school, maybe. I don't know if it is, but the
local ones around here are pushing 200.
Yeah, 200 or 300. And that's just regular daycare. So yeah, if it's like a Montessori school or something, yeah, 100%.
And it just that's the issue for me. If we want to pay people to have kids, okay, we kind of already do something similar to that with child tax credits and things like that.
I do think they could increase the child tax credit, because I will tell you this. We're talking about earlier on the podcast things that we're okay with government subsidizing, and the child tax credit is one of those things that it is actually a refundable credit, so you can get money back from that, versus a lot of tax credits are not refundable. They'll reduce your tax, but you don't get any money back from them. And so with the child tax credit, that money gets put, if you have kids, you're investing in the economy.
Right.
That's what I'm fine with, like, government paying for, or things that are going to make you invest back in the economy. Like, if you increase the child tax credit, and it is limited, you can phase out on the child tax credit. If you have a certain amount of income, you don't get it. So that's fine too. There's a lot of people at that income level probably don't think that's fine, but because they're still investing in the economy. But if you have kids, you are buying more stuff. And you know what? You're probably buying more stuff at small local businesses as well.
Correct.
So I think, increasing that is one of those things that would go a long way, that stimulates the economy, because it's, right now Trump is getting judged very harshly on the cost of his tax cuts that are coming through Congress right now, and saying it's going to increase the deficit and going to completely wipe out 10 times more than what Doge has been able to accomplish. But what that analysis does not consider is the investment in the economy that comes from that. If you cut taxes on people, it is not a 1-for-1, but that money turns around and gets invested in the economy. And when I say it's not a 1-for-1, I'm not saying how you may think I am. I'm not saying that you get a little bit of benefit back. You get more. So you cut X number of dollars. History has shown time and time again, especially with Reagan through the 80s, that the reinvestment in the economy is a multiple of the dollars that you cut tax-wise.
Okay.
You get more investment back in the economy than what you cut in taxes.
Is that the whole Reaganomics thing?
Yes.
Gotcha. I trust you on that. I don't.
Milton Friedman too.
Yeah, and the Twitch brings up the whole two income trap. Elizabeth Warren says that, but it's true. If you are double income, no kids, and then you look at all of a sudden, man, if I have one kid, I'm going to have to pay $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
How am I going to afford that? Mm-hmm. And not only that, like, if you have any medical complications at all in your pregnancy, it's $1 million. Mm-hmm. I mean, it turns into $1 million like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not even, you can have a healthy child and then all of a sudden it turns into $250,000, $300,000 in medical bills.
Childcare does have a tax credit, by the way. It's a fringe benefit tax credit. You can get
What is it? $5,000.
You get $5,000. It's a deduction. It makes $5,000 of your wages that you earned not taxable. So it basically just takes like $5,000 off your earnings. You don't pay taxes on that. It's not a lot.
It does. It's not. It's not moving the needle for me.
Everyone who is, and then there's a dependent care benefit that is a refundable credit on top of that, but it's limited to $6,000 per kid. I'm sorry, $3,000 per kid, $6,000 total. So yeah, you got a little bit, nowhere near enough. But I agree with you. Like if you want to, like paying people $5,000 to have a kid, I think is an Elon Musk idea that made it into Trump's ear. But you know, adding things like an additional child tax credit, helping pay for dependent care and daycare expenses, I think that's far better use of that. It would have more of an impact for parents, speaking as a parent.
So the Twitch says this, and I don't understand this reference, but they say you will.
All of mine are out of daycare, by the way.
It says something about, I watched The West Wing. Does that incentivize women staying in a domestically abusive relationship? Clint will know what I'm talking about because of West Wing.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know what they're referencing, so I can't really have a thought on that.
I'm trying to remember how they came down on that. But I don't think so. In the real world. I do remember that episode. But in the real world, I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, if whoever the kids go with get the credit. So
okay.
So mama leaves and needs to leave in that situation. Mama keeps the credit.
Gotcha.
Man, I should rewatch that whole series again. I've watched it 3 times through.
It says Amy Garner.
Yes.
In the Women of Leadership Council.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that. I have
It's
no idea what that's talking about.
She just showed up in another show the other day, and I was like, "Who is that? Who is that? Who is that?" I was like, "Oh yeah, West Wing."
Yeah, I just
that actress anyway.
Yeah,
I forget what show she showed up in.
I think that too, like having children is complicated. That's gonna be on the TikTok. I'm sorry. But it's not complicated. That's not what I'm saying. But like hold on. Having children is not complicated. Raising children is complicated.
I think our wives are going to say, "What are these two guys talking about having kids is complicated?" Y'all shut up.
You don't know what you're talking about. My wife listened to the first episode last week. She listened to 25.
Yeah.
I was like, huh. Welcome to the show.
I know. Thanks. Hope you stay.
3-0 still. 13-26. Shots are 10-11. Colorado.
Yeah. A lot of time left. But good start. So something that government has listened to. So we talked a lot about government not listening. And so there was a change. So backstory, I'm a CPA, and so I'm going to nerd out about this a little bit. So every CPA takes the same test. The test is the same no matter what state you're in. But you are licensed by the state. So every state has their own licensing requirements. So Texas has always been one of the most strict, meaning that it had the highest requirements and you had to meet all those requirements before you could even start taking the test.
Okay.
Some other states will let you start taking the test, but you have to meet all the requirements before you can actually get your license. And by requirements, I mean schooling requirements, and work experience. So for Texas, they have a bill coming through the Senate right now that's going to change this. But when I went through, it was 150 total hours. So you're basically going to have to get a master's degree on top of your bachelor's degree to get to those hours. You did not like that.
Yeah, that was too hot.
Saw that reaction. So 150 hours, and if you have a master's degree, 1 year of work experience. If you don't get a master's degree, then 2 years worth of work experience. You can sit for the exam before you do your work experience, but you got to have all the hours of school. And in that hours of school, 30 of those have to be upper level accounting, 24 have to be upper level business.
Okay.
So what they are, and they say you have to do all of that. So you get all those hours done, and then you can submit your application to start sitting for the 4 CPA exams you have to take. There's 4 different exams that you have to take and pass.
You take them all?
Yeah. And if you pass one,
that was a dumb question since you are a CPA.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a dumb question.
That's how it works. If you take one and pass it, then the clock starts, and you have 18 months to pass the other 3, or you start losing credit. So it's pretty strict, but it's kind of like there are reasons for it being kind of strict, you know. But the new law changes it to where you need just a baccalaureate degree, just a bachelor's degree. And so it's Angie Chin Button, who's in our area in the DFW Metroplex. It's Senate Bill 262. It passed unanimously, so that's kind of cool. And I guess the larger point, because people may not really care about the requirements to sit for the CPA exam, but the larger point is that the Texas Society of CPAs and accounting firms in the state have been pushing for this, and our national, like the AICPA, which is the American Institute of CPAs, have been pushing for this for a few years now and making the case of why this is important and why this will help the profession, because there's a shortage of CPAs, much like there's a shortage of teachers. So they said, hey, kids are looking at their career paths and saying, well, I can go into finance or some other field and get there, but if I want to be a CPA, I've got to immediately go in and get my master's right now, and I've got to do all that before I can even start sitting for the exam. I got to go take the exam. I got to go get work experience before I can even get the letters after my name to go do this job. And so they're trying to address, like, let's still make it difficult, let's still make it challenging, and so we, you know, funnel in the right people, ethics and integrity and everything, but let's lower that burden a little bit. I have zero problem with it. Then I'll get to tell all the new CPAs, look back when I ought to be a CPA. But they did increase the hours. Like, it was around 120 before. Like, a lot of these guys are retired now, but some of the older partners I worked with, none of them had master's degrees because the hours requirement was lower. But now everybody who came through, like when I came through, everybody's got a master's degree. It's like, because you just might as well, if you're having to get to 150 and 24 upper level, 30 upper level accounting, 24 upper level business. Like, by the time you do all that,
you may as well.
You're gonna be at a master's. So a lot of people, and we have a mutual friend whose son just did this at a local university. They have a program where you come through and it's just like all together, and you basically graduate with your bachelor's and your master's, and you did all the coursework together. And if you come in with nothing, it's a 5-year program. This kid is getting it done in 4 because they brought in some
credits from high school
work from high school. So graduating after 4 years with a bachelor's and a master's degree.
I mean, they're kind of doing that too for teachers.
Yeah.
So like my daughter is going to go into an accelerated program. Mm-hmm. She has edit credits, college credits, dual credit. And then she could potentially be a teacher in 2 years.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where you could have someone sitting down at the Capitol saying, no, we don't need to make it easier for people to become CPAs, and just kind of because that's the idea in their head. But then you have the actual people doing the job and working with the people who are doing this, coming in and saying, no, we really, really could use this. So I don't know how well it's going to help the pipeline. We definitely need people, because at the end of the day, every major accounting firm is offshoring, meaning that we have employees in the Philippines and India and all over the world doing our work because there's not enough CPAs here in America to do it. So there are jobs that are needed here in the States that we don't have people to come in and fill.
I think that goes to a bigger problem that we're having though too, not just with CPAs. I mean, you were talking about Theo Vaughn. I was listening to him talk to Mike Rowe, and he was talking about welders and this company. I don't remember, something blue, something. They're a welding company, and they're like, we need, like, they build submarines, and they need 100,000 people, 100,000 employees to work. And they're like, can you help us? They were asking Mike Rowe, through your contacts, can you help us? And he was like, no, the people that you need are freshmen, 8th graders in school.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to start.
Yeah.
And I think there is a shift, and we can, I can't speak for other states because I don't know, but I know in the state of Texas, like, we have kids in our school right now that will graduate on May the 22nd and immediately step into making six figures welding. Immediately.
Yeah.
And so those people exist. We just have to do a better job of promoting those people, of promoting those programs and promoting that infrastructure and promoting that type, like your accounting group. I mean, we have to do a better job of that. And so I think that there is a step in the right direction in most high schools to do this. And that's the other thing too, like with this A through F system, I dove a little bit into it, and there's no benefit that I could find. I mean, there may be, and I just didn't see it, to like a kid who graduates early and goes and gets a job. Like you may actually get dinged for it because of attendance, but I don't know for sure, but they're there. Like I can, off the top of my head, I could name you 6 kids that I have had in class this year or in the past who are graduating this year, who are going to go make 6 figures in June when they graduate on May the 22nd. And so those programs do exist. They also exist in the CPA accounting world. They exist in the teaching world. We're not making 6 figures, but it is giving them a quick path without student debt to get to those jobs. And that's where I think a lot of times our promotion of schools are failing. That's where, not failing, but we're not doing as good a job promoting that stuff. We're trying, but like bring that kid back. Like bring them back and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing. And we may do that. And I just don't know about it. You know what I mean? But it just seems like a lot of times there are kids who are doing great things and it may just be they don't want to. You know what I mean? Those kids don't want to come back. But like we just got to do better with that. And it's more of an optic that those kids don't exist, I guess, but they do. And
I see it more as like, and I think, did House Bill 5 kind of attempt this years ago to give them the tracks in high school? Wasn't that?
I don't remember what the bill was, but there are tracks now.
Yeah, I think it was HB 5, but like give the kid who's going to go into a trade a path to be successful in high school. Like if this is your path, that's wonderful, and we need you. 100% what Micro is doing is exactly correct. But we need to also have, like on the flip side of that, on the academic side, a pathway to success, to say these are the things you need to know. If you're going to be a welder, you may go apprentice under someone for a while, but honestly, man, you should probably come take some business classes and like learn how tax works, because there's a very good chance you're going to work for yourself and have your own shop,
right,
and like be a business owner someday.
Right.
And that's more important to you than learning chemistry.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe welders actually need to know chemistry. I don't know. Not the way I was taught chemistry.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Had an excellent chemistry teacher.
Physics teacher too.
Yes.
He listens.
I know. We talked.
So it just, it's one of those things too, where a lot of the issues are being addressed, but just almost quietly, because we don't want to upset
That's what Zuckerberg was talking about.
Yeah.
It's like taboo to come out and say it, but it's so true.
Yeah. And those kids need to know they're important. And I know that in a lot of schools, like the macho athlete is promoted really, really high.
Especially where we are.
Especially in this area where in Texas, football is extremely important.
Yeah.
But a lot of those kids don't play football because guess what? They're working.
Yeah.
And they can't, or they choose not to. So that's a bigger picture issue. Yeah. We've talked a lot about education today.
We have. It's
Let's
an education podcast.
Huh?
It's an education podcast.
I almost wore my Don't Mess with Texas Teachers podcast, but I didn't think we were going to talk as much about it.
Haters going to hate, though.
Yeah, we're blocking out the TikTokers. Colorado scored 3-1 with 8:38 to go in the second period.
Tomorrow is Trump's 100th day in office. Initial reaction on the first 100 days.
Well, since I'm part of the cult MAGA. No, I think the reason why I'm happy with his first 100 days is he's done what he said he was going to do. He's fulfilled campaign promises. The one thing that we talked about a little bit last week that I don't particularly like is he hasn't gotten us out of the wars.
Yeah.
although it does, we didn't talk about this last week, but it was on the run sheet about Rubio coming out against the war.
And Rubio said today that they are closer than they've been, but there's still a lot of work to be done. I mean, very vague, but it's like you don't want to come out as a Secretary of State and give all the back channel information. Right. But
well, in his meeting with Zelensky at the Pope's funeral was a big deal, and I don't think that we're not going to dive deep down to that. But the first 100 days, I think, has been positive, baby steps, some big giant steps, mostly baby steps. But now that the momentum has started, you have to continue down that path.
yes,
One of the big things that was really important to me was immigration. I really felt like we needed to secure the borders, and he's done that. I was showing my current events team the other day, we were looking at border crossings, and as soon as Biden took office, it spiked to in the tens of thousands, and then it gets up to the hundreds of thousands, and then as soon as Trump takes office, it just falls off dramatically. So even last week, the Texas Senate was like, do we really need to spend this amount of money to secure the border when that's not really an issue right now? I don't really, I'm kind of meh on that.
Yeah.
But I think it's been a success and a good start.
Sure.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of the same. At first glance, I think that it's okay to judge a president by their first 100 days in office because it's what we do with everybody. But at the same time, it should be judged as this is the first 3 months in office, and we still have 45 months after this for things to happen. I think immigration has been huge. That's why right now in Washington, D.C., there are 100 to mark the 100 days. Did you see this? To mark the 100 days of Trump in office, there are 100 pictures of violent illegal immigrants who have been deported. So making a statement there.
Right.
There have been a couple mistakes on the deportations, which is I don't want to dismiss it and say as to be expected, but at some point, and like we talked about in detail the last couple of podcasts, you're going to have some of those missteps. You need to admit them. One of the easiest ways to get stuff out of the news cycle is just to admit it and say, yes, we messed up, we acknowledge the mistake, and we're going to work on not doing that again. But I think immigration is the biggest one. Approval rating sliding a little bit has a lot to do with the economy, and we talked about this before Trump ever took office, that it was going to be a very painful way to right the ship. But at the end of the day, and I'll keep coming back to this same point, that if you understand and agree, I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but if you understand the peril that our country was in because of our debt, and to where we just talk about the debt for decades, and really don't think about it as some just kind of thing off in the corner that's not really real, but it is real. If you understand how much of a problem that was, then you have to look at what they're doing with the tariffs and trying to cut spending and make the government more efficient as necessary steps. Otherwise, it could get much worse far more quickly than we want it to. So I expect the slide on the economy. He will be judged by the market being lower today or tomorrow than it was on January 20th. Every president is judged by the market levels in their first 100 days. But I think you're going to see a comeback, and I think one of the reasons, like we've talked about before, we see such a strong emphasis in the market right now is it has time to rebound before we get to midterms.
Right.
I think that's a political strategy, but it's also a good strategy to get it done quick.
I just think too, we have seen so many presidents even Trump in his first administration too did this, make all these promises and did nothing to even further their agenda of the campaign. He flipped that, and I like that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that. And if I'm being completely honest, I have very minimal stock, so the stock market doesn't have a direct effect on me immediately. I realize that there's a bigger,
sure,
what is it, micro economy that will affect me long term. I understand that, but most of our grocery bills, when I look at the end of the month of what money we've spent on groceries, is a little bit better.
It is.
When I go to the gas pump, it's not $4.50 for gas. Now it's fluctuating. It's all over the place. One week it's $3.15, and then the next week it's $1.98. So, but we're paying less in gas. We're paying the everyday things that I deal with are coming down. And so when I look at the stocks, I'm like, okay, I see that, but it's a little bit cheaper for me to buy my Diet Coke.
Which is important.
It's very important. But the cost of cigars is going up because of these dadgum tariffs.
Tariffs.
We don't need no tariffs on cigars and tobacco.
Should be exempt.
I just think, but overall, I would give it a B plus. If I'm giving it a grade, B plus.
I think, only considering 100 days and considering the long play, I could get better than a B plus on that. I could give an A. Considering the long game.
Yeah. Also, this past week, Twitter, 20 years old.
YouTube.
Sorry, I said Twitter.
You did.
I meant to say YouTube.
Twitter doesn't exist anymore.
Twitter doesn't exist. It's X. YouTube is 20 years old. Oh, they just scored. Colorado scored, so it's now 2-3. One timer from the blue line, and he didn't even see it. Ottinger didn't even see it. I wouldn't be able to see it either, so I can't really criticize that.
Armchair goalie.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see if we can watch the replay. Oh, man, he just skated right through the defense, too. No defense played there. Turnover in the zone. I really do know a lot about hockey, to be quite honest with you. It's hard for me to watch it when it's not playoffs because it's not as intense. Boy, he just skated right through and...
Man, just found a seam.
Yeah, he did. He put it right over his right shoulder into the hip pocket of the goal. So I think that YouTube arguably changed society more than any social media platform.
Yes. And it opened the door. Like you've got, think about, you don't have to go back very far before really video wasn't a big deal on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.
Right.
Twitter X. Like YouTube has been the pioneer there. And now video is the primary media on all of those other platforms.
Well, I mean, think about us. I mean, we could just put this podcast out on Spotify, but it wouldn't grow if we didn't put clips on TikTok or clips on or stream on Twitch or YouTube, put those videos up on YouTube. I mean, that totally changes independent media. I mean, and we are that.
Yeah. So
it's kind of interesting when you think about it from that perspective.
The famous millionaires it's created.
Oh, yeah.
Doing nothing but
just
having a YouTube channel
and just having I think the part of the thing that is fascinating to me and what our scale of audience is growing, but it's still very small. So like just a little bit into the numbers, like over the last 7 days, we've had over 10,000 views combined on all of our social media. So from TikTok, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, and YouTube, we've had over 10,000 views. Now, that doesn't mean that people are listening to what we're saying, but we are one.
Apparently, they're not.
But my point in saying that is this gives us an outlet to put our voice into the market.
Yeah.
And 5 years ago, that didn't exist.
No, I mean, and before this, you would have to be radio boy,
right?
Like you've got to get a spot on a local to get your voice, to get your thoughts out there. So yeah, it's really opened the door, and lowered the barrier of entry for that. So I think it's good.
Yeah, a couple more national things. 30 years ago was the Oklahoma City bombing. There's a great Netflix series that came out just a couple of days ago, about a week ago. It's a pretty good story that's being told there. That was the first real tragedy that I remember happening. I was in 4th grade, 1994, 95-ish.
Have you been to the memorial?
Drove by it, but we didn't stop. It's on the bucket list.
The saddest thing, I mean, obviously they have these little bronze chairs for everyone who passed away, and the ones for the kids are smaller because that building had a daycare in it,
right?
For the federal employees. That's
an image that still sticks out in my head, is the firemen carrying the babies out of the. I remember that on the front page of the Dallas Morning News. My teacher was reading it in class.
Yeah,
it's on the front page. So, and then a couple of more national headlines. This is international, but the conclave will start on May the 7th.
Did you see the pushback for Trump wearing a blue suit?
Yes, and it was a zoomed-in picture, and then they zoom it out.
100 other people wearing blue suits like Prince William, Biden.
Yes. Did you see the guy that was of Arabian descent videoing during the thing, and like everybody else is standing respectfully, no phone, and then there's a gentleman in the back. He's probably like 5 or 6 rows behind Trump, and he's videoing the whole thing like this. I
didn't see that.
Very disrespectful.
Yeah, it was very disrespectful, but it's like...
Don't know who that guy is, by the way. Yeah. It's just...
Probably somebody important because he's at the...
Yeah, and he was like 5 rows behind Trump, so he was obviously... Also, Kash Patel and the FBI arrested a judge this week for hiding or some sort of immigrant.
Basically, like let him out the back door. Helped him escape, basically, and the ICE agents had to chase him.
And one-timer right into the top right corner. It is now 4-2. What a fantastic shot.
Yeah. That's what you got to do.
What a fantastic shot. 4-2 with 3:12 to go. Wyatt Johnston, second goal of the night. He's 1 away from a hat trick.
Yeah, they let the prisoner out. ICE had to chase him down and recapture him. So,
right.
And that judge was arrested. And
the memes of her are fantastic. Go look them up.
Let me tell you what I have a problem with, though. I am one to normally give Democrats I disagree with, but that are pretty even keel. Like, I have no problem with Democrats doing Democrat things.
Right.
But it's the ones that get out there and that are just like saying the crazy stuff, that I'm like, no, I have no respect for you. A Democrat that I've had some respect for, seeing them on the debate stage and just their demeanor, like they were one of the clerks that certified Trump's 2024 win, is Amy Klobuchar in Minnesota.
Okay.
But she is out there wringing her hands that this is an affront to checks and balances that a judge was arrested.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you running again? Is that why you're doing this? Because I've had actually some respect for you over the last few years and how you've handled yourself. Democrat, liberal, doing Democrat, liberal things, fine. That's totally fine. But you haven't gone fringe. And when people went fringe in the debates, in the presidential primaries for the Democrat Party, you did not. And, I have some respect for that. And now, if you're out there hand-wringing over a judge getting arrested for, letting a prisoner go, not using their gavel to do it, but actually just letting them go.
Walk free.
Physically.
Yeah.
Then I'm sorry.
I'm right there with you.
Come on.
And that's too, that's platforming.
Yeah.
You're just trying to put yourself in the mix of this and going
Gavin
against.
Newsom has a podcast. Now Amy Klobuchar is running too.
Yep.
We should have another chart.
And
people we think that are going to run.
We scored again. It is 5. That dude's mustache is fantastic. 5-2, 128 in the second period.
Yeah.
Well, who is that? What is his name? Turn around so I can see your name. Oh, don't know his name. He's got a great mustache.
27.
Though. Number 27.
Oh.
Off the deflection. Yep, right in front of the goal. What's it say? I can't read it.
Yeah, it's one of them.
It's being blocked.
It's one of them long hockey player names.
The fact that you can deflect it into the goal is fantastic.
Starts with an M.
Yep.
We should know more about the Dallas Stars.
Especially if we're going to talk about it on the podcast.
We should. We do care.
Now it's becoming a bit.
We do care.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this
We're
bit.
tied for shots on goal, 16-16. Dallas is leading Colorado 5-2.
Marchment. Mason Marchment.
With 1:27 left in the second period. Go Stars.
Okay, then kind of wrapping up our podcast today. We talked a lot about last week or the week before last about the Muslim community that's coming, the Islamic community coming up into Plano.
East Plano Islamic Center.
There was another...
That's not in Plano.
Yeah, it's east of Plano in a big field, 400 acres.
Or it will be if they ever build it.
In Fairfield, there was an LDS community. Fairview. Did I say Fairfield? Fairview. Sorry, misread. We should know that by now.
Both are Texas towns. One is much closer to us.
That the temple that they're building in this LDS community is being put some stipulations on how tall it can be built and things of that nature, and they're following the rules.
And they made it change the name.
Change the name.
Because they wanted to call it the McKinney Temple, and they were like, no, you're actually in Fairview. You can call it Fairview.
Right.
So the East Plano Islamic Center should be the EJIC.
Correct.
Instead of the EPIC.
So I just think too, like, if you're going to tell the LDS that they can build a community, build their temple, then we should allow the Epic one to do it as well.
As long as you follow the rules.
The litmus test of
And I think
constitutionality.
that is, yeah, exactly right.
Anything else?
Go Stars.
So we got 40 seconds left in the second period. Shots on goal 17-17. Dallas Stars are up 5-2. I don't have anything big on going this week. Thank goodness it's a slow week for me.
Yeah, we man, it's May.
Yeah, my daughter turns 18. I guess that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a interesting perspective now that I have an adult kid. It's weird. I don't feel like I'm old enough to have that.
You're not.
Yeah, you'll be there next, brother. Just don't worry.
Just right behind you.
Have a great week.
See ya.